In your lap. You can close your eyes. Yesterday, I ended our class with a particular kind of meditation about the chakras, and I'm going to begin our class there this morning, and I will end it there as well. Bring your attention down to the first chakra. And I'd like you to go inside and hear the sound in silence. The sound like a rhythm, as if we were ringing a bell. The ringing of the bell would be consistent, a bell that calls the villagers to gather. And the sound in silence will sound like this on the outside. Lum, 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 lum. Listen for that sound in silence and try to have an equal numbers of lum for the inhale and for the exhale. If you'd like to count those lums individually to have a sense, you can use your fingers for the counting rather than using the numbers. And listen for the silent sound of lum. Encourage your breath to be equal between inhale and exhale without any sense of breathlessness. Imagine the bell you're ringing in the center of the town, the center of the village, calling the villagers to gather on behalf of the earth. Lum, 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 lum. And bring your attention to the second chakra, ringing the sound of the bell for the villagers to come in your village, the next village over, and the next village beyond that, gathering on behalf of the water. Wum, 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 wum. And up to the third chakra, ringing the bell. So the villagers will gather in the nearby village and the next nearby village and the next nearby village also. Gathering now on behalf of the fire, the element of fire. Ram, 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 ram. And to the heart, gathering on behalf of the air, the element of air. You imagine ringing the bell, your village gathers, the nearby village, the next nearby village, and the next and the next, and the next beyond that too. Gathering on behalf of the air element. Yum, 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 yum. Listening for the sound in silence. And then the fifth chakra, ringing the bell, the sound, the calling out on behalf of the element of ether or space. Hum, 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 hum. And to the sixth chakra. And the sound here is the sound of Om. Om, 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 Om. Imagine the sound of the bell being rung The villagers gather on behalf of having a clear and inclusive mutual vision, having clear sight, understanding the past, the present, the future. And come to Anjali Mudra, please. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parara Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parara Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parara Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Hari Om, Hari Hari Om. With your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart and release your hands. Please open your eyes. Okay, let's warm up the body for these adventures I'd like to share with you. You will need, again, as I was saying, 4 blocks for class. And let me tie my hair back. You're also going to want to have a chair. I will show you again the way that we've been approaching the shoulder stand pose. And also then I'm going to be including the supported headstand that Marlene is very fond of. That's why I asked if she was here at the beginning of class. Let me just scoot my gladiolas over a tiny bit. I'm going to turn you very slightly. There you go. Okay, so as you're sitting right now, interlace the fingers and please send the heels of the hands straight down. Think of all the villagers gathering in your village, the nearby village, and so on. Imagine how it would be to truly come together on behalf of a greater vision and what's required to get there. We're going to inhale and raise up with the breath and your arms simultaneously. Lift your heart, open your throat, lift your gaze. And then exhale, sweep the arms wide and twist to your right. Lengthen up through your spine as you inhale. Exhale, return to center. Interlace your fingers. Inhale, forward and up. Exhale, rotate to your left. Rise up through your inhalation. Exhale, unwind, interlace your fingers. Inhale to go up, reaching upwards at the pace of your inhale, gaze up at the top. Keep your hands clasped and exhale, bring your hands down behind the base of your skull. So the pinkies are right there. And now inhale, sweep the elbows forward and up. And then exhale, level off. So your elbows go out to the side. And inhale, twist to your right. Raise your left elbow forward and your right elbow up. And exhale back to center. Inhale, twist left. Bring your right elbow forward and your left elbow up. Exhale, rotate back to center. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, press out. And return your hands to your heart. And let's come over to kneeling with a blanket in front of you, please. So a blanket for your knees and a blanket in front of you as well. Hi, you guys. When you come to kneeling, check that the blanket that's in front of you doesn't have lumps in it. That won't be comfortable. And when you come forward, that you're going to be able to place your head on the blanket comfortably. We're going back into a little back bend. Let me scooch my gladiolas over a tiny bit more. In the shade of the gladiola, this teeny tiny little pot with the sedums in it. They hang out together right there. Okay. So from this position, you're going to be coming forward. The hands will go to the floor. I put mine under my blanket. It's just a personal preference. And then we come over and touch the crown of the skull and raise up like that. And we'll rise back up to our seat. The hands will be on the knees here. So put your fingers over your kneecaps. And as you inhale, raise up, open your chest, your heart, and your throat. And then exhale, slide your hands under your blanket if you're using that method, but slide forward and to the crown of your skull. Inhale, hips back, fingers to the knees, open your chest, heart, and throat. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale again. And last one, exhale. Rise back to Vajrasana. Rest your hands in your lap. Guru Brahma, Guru Devo, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Please reach back to interlace your fingers. Roll your shoulders back. Stretch the elbows back by moving your shoulders first, then the elbows, then your wrists, and inhale to go up into a little back bend. Exhale, come forward and touch your head, roll up. Inhale, raise your arms overhead. Exhale, lower your hips, but not your hands. Inhale, squeeze the shoulders back as you rise up. Squeeze the elbows back and wrists back. And exhale, forward, down. Inhale, roll to the crown of your skull. Exhale, lower your hips, but not your hands. Inhale, roll up. And exhale, glide forward, keep the shoulders back, tone the low belly as you come down, touch your hairline, then inhale to the crown of your skull. And exhale, lower your hips. Inhale, rise up, last one. And exhale, release your hands to your lap. Gurura Brahma, Gurura Vishnu, Gurura Devo Maheshwara, Gurura Sakshat Parabrahma, Asmai Shri Gurave Namah Namah Namah. And let's come up to Prasarita Padottanasana. You can put the blankets aside. You don't need them right now, so place them where they won't be in your way. Take a wide stance. And bring one block for each hand, please. When you stretch out like this, press your palms down against the blocks firmly and rotate your triceps in towards your nose. The one reason that we're using the blocks here is to make the spine from your hips to the crown of your skull a long, smooth line. And yesterday we were doing part of this practice as well, to have the quote unquote control of the torso or the trunk using the abdominal muscles, the spinal muscles. That's really essential before practicing something like the supported headstand. It's also just very helpful to your posture in general. We see it in plank pose, we see it in downward dog pose. We're using it here. So as you press the palms down, rotate your triceps in towards your nose and notice if the shoulder blades go a little bit wide around your rib cage. And as you wrap the shoulder blades like that, can you sense some tone coming around the sides of the waist, into the floating ribs, and down into your belly? So that tone will still be breathable. So in other words, it won't be like if you were all lax in the torso, that would be breathable to some extent, but you're adding this tone without losing the sense of breathability. The diaphragm is still completely free to breathe in and out slowly. Walk your blocks back so they're directly beneath your shoulders. Now we have the torso a little bit like table pose. So this is a really important time to notice what you do with your neck, head, and throat position. To reach the crown of your skull forward and the tailbone away from that, it includes the entire spine. So press down into both arms firmly. Widen your shoulder blades across your back. Try to sense the shoulder blades even coming around a bit to the sides of the rib cage. Some tone at the floating ribs and in towards the deep belly. At the same time, we lift the base of the skull, and there ought to be a feeling of tone in your throat and in your neck. There's no need to clench the teeth, so take notice if you're overusing the jaw. Take the left heel a tiny bit out, turn your right foot about 45 degrees out. And then bend your right knee. Take your right hand up to your right knee and press out against it. If your hip joint allows for you to do so, turn your right foot 90 degrees out. So not just 45, but the full rotation to your right. Continue pressing out with your right hand against your right knee. The torso still aims forward where you began, so there is a sense of the contrast of going right with your lower body, your right arm supporting that, and coming straight on with the crown of the skull. Now, keeping the right knee as it is, place your right hand back on its block. And then exhale, press into your right heel to straighten your right leg. You'll notice that your torso comes back to center. So now your shoulders are again over your wrists. Now bend the right knee deeply. You'll notice that your shoulders are going to go with your torso. You have a little bit of an angle with the arms right now. Try to aim your right knee directly towards the toes. Inhale, rise up to straighten your right leg. And exhale to bend. And one more time, inhale to straighten. And then rotate your right foot in, turn the left toes out about 45 degrees, and let's put the right heel very slightly out to the right, and bend your left knee. Take your left hand up to your left knee and press out. And if you're someone where you know that your hip joint is comfortable going to the 90-degree opening, then turn your left foot directly out to the left. So the torso is not centered right now. We've come to the left side of the blocks. Remember your right leg, reach from your inner thigh to your inner heel. Elongate your left inner thigh, press down through your left heel. Notice how you align your head with your neck and your throat. If you can now keep the left knee open where it is, using the strength of your outer left hip muscles. I'm going to inhale, straighten the left leg. That means that your torso is going to come towards center. And exhale, bend your left knee thoughtfully, aim out in line with your toes. Inhale, straighten the left leg. And exhale, bend your left knee. Try to control the movement from your left outer hip. I should say lead the movement or guide the movement, not control. Do one more time, straighten your left leg. Energize the muscles around your thigh and your calf. And then exhale, rotate your left foot in. Make the feet parallel. Release your torso down and place your hands on your hips. And let's inhale, rise up to standing. We're going to go heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, and we're going to be here just for a moment. So I'm not going to change the angle of the camera, even though it's awkward. I still have a head. Yeah. We're going to use yesterday's sequence, really trying to open up the hips and pelvis in preparation for a longer seated meditation at the end of class, but also in preparation for what happens in the agility to go up and down into these inversions. So place your blanket in the center. I have to scoot you guys over. You're still precious. There we go. Okay, So take a wide stance over the blanket that you have. You're straddling that. Bring your 2 blocks down. This is the grapevine, portion of the grapevine. Okay. Okay, and as you are, now we're going to go to the right towards triangle pose. As with yesterday, we're going to have the revolve twist from the crescent lunge, and you'll see portions of Anjaneyasana too. So let's inhale while we're here centered, calling this home base. Pivot your left heel out, pivot your right foot to the right, and take your blocks with you. Come up to the fingertips, please. See what you can do to internalize from your tailbone across the back of your body to the crown of your skull, a beautifully straight line. Inhale. And then exhale, press firmly down from your right outer hip to your right outer heel, from your right shoulder to your right hand. And then inhale, open up to Trikonasana, triangle pose. Let the pose open slowly like a sail on a ship. Like any sail on a ship, it's going to be more useful if the ship is seaworthy. So energize your legs, make the feet very stable, legs stable. Now sweep your left arm past your left ear. Let's see if we can line up the left arm and shoulder, the left ear. Lengthen the back of your waist, root your tailbone firmly down. Press into your left heel. This line that you've just made from your left heel to your left fingers, we want that to feel toned as if you were getting ready for an inversion right now. And then exhale, bend your right knee deeply. It's called side angle pose. Exhale, bring the left fingertips down, pivot your left heel up. Now, as you pivot the heel up, press into the mount of the big toe with your left foot. Press into your left fingertips and thumb, and let's inhale, twist to the right. Keep your back leg strong, so the left hip is not dropping towards the floor. Press firmly into your left fingertips. One ought to feel that you're toning the left side of the waist, left low belly, left hip, left glutes. And then reach your right arm past your right ear and try to sense the line from your left heel to your right fingers. And then exhale and lower down with your right fingertips and bring your left knee to the blanket. And inhale, open your front body here in Anjaneyasana. Okay, let's exhale and glide back. And bow over your right leg. Come upright and rotate back to center. Release into the symmetry of the pose. Notice what's happening with your breath and your body. And we'll go the other way. I was just remembering that I saw a very small portion of a video yesterday on YouTube on a tiny screen about the divers, the Olympic divers. Even though it was a small video, I'm remembering right now how much of what you see in their body and their actions, they have to practice those as small things before they're larger things. And some of what you're doing right now is recruiting some of those same muscles. So when you see them move with so much like artistry and like hiking in and then unfolding, and they're using a lot of the muscles that we're talking about right here. And so here in table pose, press into your fingertips and your thumb tips. Table pose for the torso. The legs are not in table pose, obviously. But see if you can sense what do you do with your head and your throat alignment. And start pressing more firmly from your left outer hip to your left outer heel. And that pressure is going to start rotating your pelvis to the right. Make the left leg longer, more grounded. Do the same with the left arm. The right arm will get lighter on the blocks, and then you can inhale and open to triangle pose. And treat it like a sail on a ship, please. It opens with the breath. It requires the breath, in fact. But for the sail to be useful to the ship has to be seaworthy. Put the right arm past the right ear and see if you can have a sense of lining up from your right outer heel, right outer hip, right sideways, right shoulder girdle, your right arm, your right ear. And then exhale, bend your left knee, coming into the side angle pose. Keep it steady so even the left outer heel is grounded. And exhale, lower your right fingertips down, pivot your right heel up, and touch your right knee to the blanket. And into Anjaneyasana. And then glide back. Place your palms on your blocks. And walk back to center. Make the feet parallel. Come on back and into the symmetry of the pose, you can deeply relax. And shift your hands to your hips. Please rise up to standing. And heel toe in. Come up to mountain pose, please. I'd like us to take a seat in a chair. I want to do something specific with the hips and legs and with the shoulders in preparation for these other poses. So if you can please take a seat on the front edge of your chair. And I would recommend that you pad the upper back of the chair. And I will change the angle for my camera also. When you take a seat on the front edge of the chair here, cross your right ankle over your left knee like this. And try to keep the left foot directly under your left knee, so it won't be like at an angle like that. And if it's the case that when you put your knee here, it's quite high for your right ankle, if this is like a 10 on a 10 scale, walk your left foot forward so that your knee is less bent but I wouldn't say make it hyperextended like that. So just walk it a little bit forward as needed. The other option is for those of you who are tall and your chair is uniform size, none of us is uniform in our physical size, you could sit up on a couple of blankets. It'll make this easier to do. Great, let's inhale, raise up through your chest and your heart, please. And then exhale, come forward over your right leg. And feel into the muscles of the right hip joint. You could imagine how the pelvis and even how the pelvic floor is responding to this position. Let the breath come all the way down to greet the pelvic floor. You can rest your right arm on your right shin, but please don't push aggressively against your right shin or your right knee. Let's root the tailbone down and start crossing your right forearm, or for those who are more limber, your right elbow into the arch of your right foot. Take your left hand to the chair behind you and twist to your left. And then let's exhale, rotate around to face forward. Please rise up and place your right foot on the floor. Change it up for your left foot, please. Okay. When you cross your ankle again, try to make the right shin vertical. Hold your left shin with both hands. Inhale to go up. And then exhale to come forward. Notice what's happening with your tongue and your jaw as you encounter this pose that addresses the pelvic floor and the outer hip, the hip joint itself. What happens to the deep inner belly and any sense of tension, apprehension, or flexibility, suppleness. And take the left arm and bring it down to the inside of your right arch, maybe the forearm, maybe the elbow. Walk your right hand to the upper back of the chair and twist to your right. And then exhale to unwind, rotate back around to face forward and place your left foot back on the floor. Now, as you're sitting at the front edge of your chair, reach back with your hands, interlace your fingers and take them up over the back of the chair. Now, when I do that, you can see that my shoulders go back and there's a lift to the chest and the heart, and my shoulders have the mobility to be back like that. It's possible that for you, your height and the height of the upper back of the chair are not as compatible as you see for me. Like my voice tone hasn't changed. I don't sound like I'm about to drown. I'm not like trying to sip air as the water's rising all around me. So if the chair height, the upper back is too tall for your hands, sit on a couple of blocks on your chair or a couple of blankets on your chair. If that's still too much, you take the hands down and put them inside the legs of the chair. So in between the seat and the leg of the chair. And press the shoulders back. For everyone, raise the chest and heart up. And for those who have the flexibility, when you raise the chest and heart, you can also lift the chin and open the throat. Good. And then release and let that go. Rest your hands on your knees. Okay, let me get a sip of water. Now we're going to have an adventure. This is the 4 blocks adventure. And then we'll have the supported shoulder stand that you've been practicing. So what I would recommend is that we just keep your chair nearby. You're going to be using it again. Let's fold the yoga mat. Oh, let me change the camera angle so you can see better. I'm going to fold the yoga mat. You can't see it, so got to change that. So you're going to fold your yoga mat. And let's fold it in half and then in half again. So you have 3 layers of yoga mat here. And then place your block on the flat setting. Each side, those blocks are flat, and your head, you can check and see, your head will fit between those. Okay? And then you take your other 2 blocks and you place them so that the block, the inside edge of the block is on the inside edge of this other block. So you see this big stair step right here? It's because on the inside, the blocks are flush right there. I got to scoot this chair back. A little further back with you. There you go. Okay, I'm talking to the chair and the flowers as if they're listening to me. Hi, honey. It's going to turn you a little bit. Okay. Okay, so the hands go to the floor like this, and they go in front of the 2 blocks. The hand, the forearm, the upper arm, the shoulder are going to stay in this kind of line where they are shoulder width apart. The head goes on the extra padded yoga mats, and your shoulders go on the middle of the blocks there. So that process looks like this. And because the blocks are close enough where they touch on the shoulders, is the muscles rather than being just on the bony part of the upper part of the clavicle. So this is a supported headstand position right here. It's the beginning of the headstand position. For those who have a lot of flexibility and prior experience, you can take 1 leg up to the supported headstand. The elbows stay in at shoulder width. Because you are practicing at home and I cannot see you all, some of you don't have your video on, so on and so forth, I'm going to ask you not to raise both legs up unless you are very experienced. There's a wall behind you. You don't have any wobbles or bobbles. There's nobody to impress right now, so be thoughtful that the most important thing actually for us right now is learning how to keep consistent alignment at the foundation of the pose. You may put 1 leg up at a time. You may change the legs as I was just doing there. Consistently, the crown of the skull does press down, and so do your hands. There should not be a sense that you are wobbling and bobbling about. And then we're going to walk the toes back. Now, as you touch the knees down here, bring your hips back towards your heels, cross your forearms on to your blocks, and rest your head right there. In this child's pose, press your head down against your forearms lightly and make the forearms firm enough to do that. So the throat has a little bit of tone and your neck is still long. And then walk your hands back towards your knees, rise up to kneeling. You made it. There's a magical feeling of having the weight on the crown of the skull like that. That is your seventh chakra. When we have our in-person classes, it's easier to help you into a headstand safely. But again, on Zoom, I prefer, since I don't see all of you, and since I don't know how well you're all doing with your neck and shoulders, thank you for choosing wisely there. Place your chair. Now, some of you have been doing the form of this shoulder stand where the two blocks are folded, excuse me, the two blankets are folded for your shoulders, and you still have the two blocks under your hips. And that is a completely fine variation of the shoulder stand to be doing. And others may be following me to the next variation of the supported shoulder stand. It's still two blankets. They are still in front of the chair. But in the first version, we start on the floor with the blankets, blocks, and the chair. In this version, we start by straddling the chair to go backwards off of the chair. If your chair isn't suited for that, or if your practice is not interested in that, if your neck and shoulders, if your body is saying no to that, please start with the version that we've been doing. Let me show that briefly, because those who are experienced with this off the chair backwards part, you guys can start. And I'll just remind the other students how this one goes. The shoulders are at the edge of the blankets in both cases. For the one where you're doing the two blankets, the two blocks, and the chair, you start your setup like this. And you're able to reach the feet of the chair. You still tuck the shoulders under. And when you go up, you're going up to a kind of high bridge or half shoulder stand position like this. So this was our earlier version of supported shoulder stand about maybe 2 weeks ago or so. We were still doing this one. And this is a fine position to continue with. Building your strength and stamina there is really helpful. So again, for anyone for whom that is your choice today, that's how you practice it. For those who have gone off the chair backwards, who are going off the chair backwards, your shoulder pin is going to be intrinsically a little bit higher because your feet are up in the air. Anybody who went off the chair backwards for shoulder stand who would like to come over to plow pose, you can do that. So long as it's smooth. not chaotic, no sense of calamity. If you are doing this version of the plow pose, you may choose to take one leg straight up in shoulder stand. And then it's called Ekapada. Some of you will choose to take both legs straight up in the shoulder stand. You could also use that to switch which leg is up. And return both feet to the plow pose. Keep the outer hips rising. With your shoulders pressing firmly down against the blankets. If you were in plow pose, you can return your hips to the chair and your legs to vertical. If you're in the other form of shoulder stand, we're all going to be dismounting here momentarily. So you'll lower the hips down to those two blocks before going backwards off of your blankets. If you're up on the chair with your hips right now, touch your feet to the upper back of the chair and then to the seat of the chair. Place your hands without pulling your hair to slide yourself backwards off of your chair. And then I'd like everyone to situate that you can have your hips on the blankets and your feet and shins up on the chair. Yep, like that. That becomes a restorative Shavasana pose. And let yourself get really comfortable in there. That's a waterfall pose, so the inversion feeling is still happening. Power of that inversion continuing is really beneficial for the mind, for your brain. So let this be a time when your mind is not wandering off. It's not dashing about. We'll continue to rest the mind, the body. The integration process that is occurring needs time to simmer. And picture inside that your body is just being bathed in the vitality, the biochemistry of healing and wholeness. As you sense that simmering, taking the medicine deeply into your body without losing contact with that. Bring your knees towards your chest, please. And then roll to one side. And you can bring yourself back up to sitting. And find your seat for a chanting practice that brings us to meditation. Okay. Place the fingers and hands in the mudra for the first chakra. We'll chant the sound of Lam now out loud as the sound of the bell ringing in the village, bringing the villagers. And then we'll have the same practice with the silence. And then we'll listen to the absence of sound. So there's silence, and then there's the absence of, which means in the silent part, you're still hearing Lam, 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 because it's silently happening inside of you. In the absence of, we're releasing all of it. So breathe in. Lum, 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 lum. Lum, 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 lum. Lum, 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 lum. Now hearing that in silence within you with the same cadence to the breath. And then release the breath and the sound of silence and sit in the absence of. In fact, sit in receiving, neither doing nor undoing. Let's come to the second chakra. Wam, 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 wam. Wam, 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 wam. Wam, 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 wam. Now listening for the same practice in silence, for inhale and for exhale. And then listening to the absence of neither the chant nor the memory of the chant, not directing the breath, simply resting. Third chakra. Ram, 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 ram. Ram, 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 ram. Ram, 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 ram. And hearing that in silence. And listening for the absence of effort, the absence of the sound, not even the silent sound. The deep inner stillness. And then the fourth chakra, please. Yum, 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 yum. Yum, 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 yum. Yum, 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 yum. Now in silence. And resting both hands in your lap, come back to the practice of the absence of effort, the absence of sound, the fullness of stillness. What we say in Buddhism, the fullness of emptiness. Just bring your hands together at your heart. Loka samasta yukino bhavantu. Loka samasta yukino bhavantu. Thank you all very much. Namaste. Thank you.